A pair of fishermen, lured by a strange tip about a mysterious patch of ocean teeming with fish, headed out to sea expecting the catch of a lifetime. But what they encountered was not a fishing bonanza. They came face to face with a bizarre, giant sea creature, a mammoth beast that first attacked their boat with terrifying intelligence and then began to behave in a way that defied all logic. The fishermen soon realized that the creature was not trying to harm them. It was trying to communicate. It was desperately trying to lead them to a dark and toxic secret, an environmental crime so vast it was poisoning their entire ocean. To understand the incredible events that are about to unfold, we must first dive into the mind of the creature at the heart of this story. For centuries, we have viewed the great whales and dolphins of the world as simple animals driven by instinct. But modern science has revealed a shocking and humbling truth. They are creatures of immense intelligence, with complex social lives and a capacity for thought and emotion that may rival our own. The brain of a sperm whale is over 5 times larger than a human's, and the brains of dolphins and orcas have a complex neocortex, the part of the brain associated with problem-solving, self-awareness, and abstract thought. Scientists have documented whales using tools, teaching complex hunting techniques to their young, and communicating with each other through sophisticated vocalizations that can travel for hundreds of miles across the ocean. They are not just animals. They are intelligent, sentient beings with a deep and ancient understanding of their marine world. It is this profound intelligence that is the key to our story. The specific creature in our story is one of the most mysterious and elusive on the entire planet, the Omura's whale. For decades, this creature was a complete ghost to science. It was first identified as a distinct species only in 2003, based solely on the remains of dead specimens. No one had ever seen a living one in its natural habitat. It was thought to be possibly extinct. Then, in 2015, the first ever living population was finally documented, confirming that this incredibly rare and sleek bluish-gray whale with its unique asymmetrical jaw coloring was still out there, a living mystery in the sea. Our story's protagonists are 2 seasoned fishermen, Tom and Rick, who operated their small commercial fishing vessel out of a port in the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf is a place of incredible natural beauty and biodiversity, but it is also a major hub for industry, and the constant threat of pollution from shipping and oil exploration is a reality that fishermen like Tom and Rick live with every day. On a calm morning, their routine was interrupted by a strange and tantalizing tip from the crew of a rival fishing boat. The sailor told them of a mysterious patch of warm water he had found offshore, where fish were swarming in unbelievable numbers, practically leaping into the boat. Skeptical but intrigued by the undeniable proof of the sailor's overflowing hull, Tom and Rick decided to take a chance. As they sailed toward the coordinates, the scene that greeted them was just as the sailor had described. The water temperature was unnaturally warm, and the surface was alive with thousands of panicked fish. Without hesitation, they positioned their boat and cast their nets. But before the nets could even hit the water, Tom noticed something else. A large, dark fin had broken the surface, but it didn't belong to a shark. The fin was small in proportion to the immense bluish-gray body that was gliding just beneath the waves. And then, without warning, the massive creature slammed into the side of their boat. The impact was so powerful it sent crew members stumbling across the deck. The crew's excitement instantly turned to cold fear. The creature was huge, the size of a small whale, but its movements were aggressive and targeted. It circled their boat, then swam underneath, nudging the hull from the other side, as if testing its strength. Then, as the crew reeled in their nets, the creature became entangled, but instead of panicking, it used its immense strength and sharp features to methodically and deliberately tear their expensive nets to shreds, releasing the fish. The crew stood stunned. This was not the random thrashing of an entangled animal. This was a calculated act of sabotage. They were dealing with something that was not just powerful, but highly intelligent. As the crew scrambled to deal with the damage, Their fear began to mix with a profound sense of awe and confusion. They were now in a standoff with a creature that was unlike anything they had ever seen. And then its behavior changed. It stopped being aggressive. It moved a short distance away from their boat and began to leap erratically from the water, a series of frantic, desperate breaches that were not the graceful displays of a happy whale. It was a clear sign of distress. After several of these frantic leaps, the creature stopped. It turned, faced their boat, and then, with a slow, deliberate motion, it began to swim away, heading west, occasionally looking back as if to see if they were following. A tense debate erupted on the boat. Most of the crew, terrified by the earlier aggression, wanted to retreat. But Tom, the captain, had a different theory. He looked at his ruined nets, at the still agitated water, and at the massive creature now waiting for them on the horizon. He realized with a profound sense of certainty that the creature's actions were not a random attack but a message. It had not been trying to harm them. It had been trying to get their attention. "It's trying to tell us something," Tom said to his skeptical crew. "It wants us to follow." After a moment of heavy silence, the decision was made. They turned their boat west and began to follow the mysterious creature into the unknown. The crew watched in a state of tense, silent awe as their small fishing boat followed the massive, unidentified creature across the open ocean. It moved with a steady, unwavering purpose, its great form cutting effortlessly through the waves, a silent, living guide leading them into the unknown. The further they traveled west, the more the environment around them began to change. A strange, oily scent, barely noticeable at first, grew stronger in the air. The water, which had been a clear, vibrant blue, began to take on a darker, sicklier hue. Soon they could see it, a thin, rainbow-colored sheen on the surface of the water, the unmistakable sign of an oil or chemical spill. The crew's unease grew with every mile. They had come out here seeking a fishing bonanza, but they were now entering a dead zone, a place that felt tainted and wrong. The whale slowed, circling in the water as if waiting for them to understand. It emitted a deep, eerie, low-frequency sound that seemed to vibrate through the very hull of their boat, a mournful signal of a great sadness. It was not just swimming aimlessly, it was communicating a warning about an impending danger, something man-made and far worse than they had anticipated. Then, one of the crew members, his voice sharp with alarm, pointed towards the horizon. Looming through the distant haze were the towering, block-like shapes of several large commercial cargo ships. As they got closer, the full, horrifying truth of the situation became clear. They were witnessing an environmental crime in progress. The ships were actively dumping thick, black, toxic sludge directly into the ocean. Barrels were being rolled off the side, leaking their poisonous contents into the sea. The water around the ships was a toxic stew, a massive, spreading slick of oil and industrial waste. The warm water, the distressed fish, the frantic behavior of the whale, it all made a terrible, sickening kind of sense now. The fish were not swarming to a natural warm spring, they were fleeing a zone of poison. And the great whale, this intelligent, sentient being, had not been attacking them. It had been trying to drive them away from the poisoned fish and had then, in a desperate last-ditch effort, chosen them to be witnesses to the destruction of its home. This criminal act is known as bilge dumping. The bilge of a large ship is its lowest compartment, where all the waste fluids, oily water, sludge, and other toxic chemicals from the engine room collect. International maritime law, under a convention known as MARPL, strictly regulates the disposal of this hazardous waste. It must be processed through special filtration equipment or stored and discharged at a designated port facility. But this process is expensive and time-consuming. And for unscrupulous shipping companies looking to cut costs, a cheaper solution is to simply dump it illegally in the dead of night in a remote stretch of ocean where they believe no one is watching. The ecological devastation of such an act is immense. The thick, oily waste coats the gills of fish, suffocating them. It can poison and kill marine mammals like dolphins and whales, and it creates a toxic dead zone that can persist for years. Tom, gripping the railing of his boat, his knuckles white with rage, knew they could not just turn away. "Get your phones," he shouted to his crew. "Film everything. They were just a small fishing boat against a fleet of massive commercial vessels, but they had one weapon, the truth." The crew quickly mobilized, each person using their phone to document the unfolding disaster. They filmed the barrels being pushed overboard, the thick, black sludge pouring into the sea, and the vast, spreading slick that now covered the ocean for miles. As they filmed, a loud, deep horn blast echoed across the water. One of the cargo ships had spotted them. Panic spread among the crew as they saw the large ship begin to turn towards them. They had their evidence. Now they had to escape. Rick gunned the engine, and their small fishing boat roared to life, turning and speeding away from the danger. The large ship did not give a full-blown chase, but it followed them for a time, a silent, menacing threat on the horizon, a clear warning to remain silent or face the consequences. But Tom and his crew were not intimidated. They had witnessed a crime against the ocean they loved, and they were not going to let it be covered up. As soon as they reached the safety of the shore, they sent their footage to the authorities, the Coast Guard, and the Environmental Protection Agency, and to major news outlets. The world soon took notice. The clear, undeniable video evidence of the illegal dumping went viral, sparking a global outcry for action. Environmental groups, journalists, and government officials from around the world demanded an investigation. The shipping company, exposed and facing immense public pressure, could no longer hide their actions. The crew also sent their incredible footage of the mysterious creature to marine biologists, hoping to finally understand what it was that had led them to this discovery. Days later, a leading cetacean expert confirmed their suspicions. The creature was an extremely rare deep-sea whale, an Omura's whale, a species so elusive it was long believed to be extinct. The biologist explained that the whale, with its incredible intelligence, had clearly understood the threat posed by the pollution. Unable to stop it itself, it had done the only thing it could. It had found the nearest humans and, through a series of desperate and intelligent actions, had recruited them to be its allies, to be the voice for an ocean that could not speak for itself. The companies responsible for the illegal dumping faced massive fines, and stricter international regulations were implemented to safeguard the ocean from such acts in the future. The crew of the small fishing boat, who had set out for a simple day's work, were hailed as heroes. They had been forever changed by their encounter with the remarkable whale. They realized they had done more than just expose an environmental crime. They had helped save a rare species and protect the ocean's fragile ecosystem. The great whale was never seen in that area again, but the crew knew it was still out there, a silent, intelligent guardian of its deep blue home.